Hello and welcome, Silrace here with more World of Warcraft leveling. I'm just turning in some quests and picking next ones and free money. Free money in the form of a food box. Anyways, I wanna talk about some of the issues I have with current iteration of weapons in the game. Kind of weapons, I suppose. Because I always thought, for one, I always thought it very weird. Okay, that's the silly fly to Ogrimmar quest. Anyways, I always thought it weird that they just basically ignored throwing weapons in the game. It's like, it always felt to me, it always felt extremely strange. It's kind of one of those things like you should, they should, rather, I feel they should have used throwing weapons the same way they used bows, guns and crossbows, which is to basically have them as a pure straight up ranged weapon. It's like, have you played one of the Warcraft games, as in Warcraft 2, Warcraft and Warcraft 3? In most of these games, trolls were known for simply being a ranged unit using throwing axes. For example, that's what trolls did in Warcraft 2. And they, for the long time, trolls actually had a bonus to ranged weapons. They had a bonus to throwing weapons. With the, well, back in the day when there were actual weapon skills you actually leveled up, that made a little bit of a difference, but they also changed that to be a throwing weapon. I believe critical hit increased by 1, something along those lines. Let's kill a couple bunnies on the way, because screw bunnies. So they did away with all of that. It's like, basically, right now the weapon slots don't have a ranged weapon slot anymore for rogues and warriors and stuff. It's like, if you wanna put in a bow or a throwing weapon, you need to equip it into your main weapon slot, and that is just not something you want to do on a warrior. Like, there is no way I'm gonna do more damage with a bow or a throwing weapon than I'm gonna do with this. Well, I am using a staff at the moment because it was the best two-handed weapon I've come across so far. Anyways, so not being able to pull melee monsters from range with a bow or a throwing weapon is obviously an annoyance, right? It's like, I would rather prefer to be able to do that, to have that option, even though it is not a damage option, to have that ability to do so. I believe they added some kind of an ability at some absurdly high level for the warrior to actually, like, throw your weapon to the enemy and use that as the ranged pull. But they really didn't need to do that, it's like, at all. They could have left the bow slash throwing weapon on warriors and rogues, and even given throwing weapons to the hunter, who is the primary ranged weapon user of the game, as a means of, like, or as a variety of one more type of ranged weapon for them to itemize with, because it could have had the exact same stats as a basic freaking ranged weapon, right? And now let's pull backwards so we get this guy in, because I know he was there. Haha, boss die. Anyway, so I just feel like this is such a big missed opportunity by the game from the beginning. When the game released, the throwing weapons were not a ranged weapon, basically, for the use of hunters. So yeah. So also they have done away with wands from the casters, and this is something I just don't agree with at all. Or, like, I find no sense in this. The wand has become a main weapon, basically. You now use it as the main hand weapon, instead of having a staff and a wand. Because, firstly, having a wand was really good. Well, anyone who knows me knows I played a support, and I played a whole lot of priest, right? So, having that wand as a means of mana using the minor DPS, like it wasn't... I think they screwed up a couple times where they gave them massive DPS amounts, but for the most part it did very minor damage overall. But it was very nice way to finish off monsters which were running away from you, or to finish low health monsters without having to go through some kind of a casting animation and use mana to do so. So wands were really good for that, and I miss that. And the same thing obviously with ranged weapon for warrior and rogue. It's like you could finish off a monster who ran away, or you could use it to pull a monster from range to you, which is one of the awesome things for raiding and grouping and all that stuff. It's like kind of necessary ability for tanks. And now it's kind of gone for the low levels at least. It's just annoying. Like, if you want my honest opinion how I would have done it, before I just end this video, I would have done it the way of like leaving that ranged weapon slot on all these classes and taking all the stats away from wands and from throwing weapons, and then left throwing weapons as the ranged weapon choice for warriors and rogues. It's like make them warrior and rogue only. Done. And put bows, crossbows and guns as hunter only. Class restrictions on weapons. And then do the same thing with wands. It's like pure DPS number on them. Maybe even give them like a 3-second cooldown or something as a shoot ability, if you really want that. And just leave them as a ranged weapon you can do to do all this stuff you do with a small damage ranged weapon. Finish off mobs, pull mobs from range, that sort of stuff. It didn't have to need any stats. Anyways, thank you very much for watching. I'm just turning in glass, and I'll see you folks next time for more leveling.